Hey guys, Gary J here. We're looking at the Ozark Trail paracord handle knife right here, and it costs $10. It's super cheap. And I looked at a few videos on YouTube, and people just took it out of the package and they didn't really do anything with it. And so I wanted to see what it would do. And you probably say, why would you buy a $10 knife like this? Well, I have a lot of different knives, and I have some high-end knives and custom-made knives, even knives that I have designed that I had made. So I understand metallurgy a little bit and so forth. But anyway, and point design. But when I looked at the blade here, this looked like a really nice bushcraft type knife to me, the blade design. And you can pay $200 to $800 for a bushcraft knife that the blade actually looks similar to this right here. So I thought, well, I'll try this out. This is made out of stainless steel. It doesn't say that anywhere here, but I looked it up. It was stainless steel. So a $10 knife, there's a couple things you know right off the bat. Number one, you're going to have to sharpen it. On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being very sharp, this is about a 3 when you get it. It's fairly dull. And it's dull right here on the serrated part, which is good for cutting ropes and stuff. Number 3, it comes with a ferro rod. And the ferro rod here is will work. It's not much of a ferro rod. You look at it and you say, well, the whole thing's a ferro rod. No. The whole thing is not. The only thing that's the ferro rod is this little piece up here at the top. The rest of this rod is kind of like a dummy rod that holds a little piece of ferro rod here. So that's the part you have to strike. You can see where I kind of struck that a little bit. So this will not give you any sparks with the way this is designed. So I took a Dremel tool and I ground it down right here about the width of my finger. And then I ground the edges on the side right here to try to get a perfect 90 degree as much as possible. And after doing that, then I could get sparks from the ferro rod, okay? But if you don't grind this down flat and the edge is flat to get that 90 degree, this is not going to work. It's be worthless to you. Some people would probably grind it all the way down to here, but I just did it here, just width of my finger. Okay, so the blade on this is 3/16 of an inch thick, which is really good for a bushcraft knife. It's a lot better than an 1/8 of an inch. 3/16 is really nice, and you got some grooves here for your thumb, and you can protect your finger down here. So it's a neat design with the drop point and so forth, and the way it's beveled here, it's a nice bevel. Be nice if this right here had been solid here instead of being cut down. It's very light. I wish it weighed twice as much. I wish it was made out of carbon, but I mean, we got a $10 knife. With stainless steel, if you had flint rock, you're not going to be able to spark flint rock with a stainless steel generally. So that's another reason to have carbon. Carbon's a lot easier to sharpen than stainless steel too. I sharpened this one right here and just spent just a few minutes sharpening this, and it cuts paper real good, as you'll see, and it will give you the sparks that you need on your ferro rod by grinding this right here like I mentioned. And the handle's real good. Feels like the Ito of a samurai sword handle, the way that it's made right here. That feels good to your hand, and it's got the lanyard for your wrist right here. You can put your hand in. And so it's a nice design. The other thing too is the sheath right here. I was going to really badmouth the sheath really bad, but the neat thing about the sheath is it's got a plastic insert right here that goes all the way down to the end, which is really, really good to have that, because if you sharpen this knife up really, really sharp, then if you fell down with it, it'd cut through this right here, or it would cut through this right here and get you. So with this right here, at least they had some forethought. Now this is not a locking plastic sheath, so when you put your blade in here, it goes in, it feels snug there, but there's no clip or nothing holding that in, but it does feel snug. And you can put your ferro rod in here, which to me, I would throw this away and get a real ferro rod, which I have several ferro rods, but this actually holds it in place, and it doesn't put any pressure on your knife blade either. So that's good right there. So, and then you got Velcros right here where you can lock that down. Okay, so I'll show you what it can do a little bit so you have an idea. And the biggest reason to have this might be that you can skin squirrels and rabbits and a raccoon or whatever small game with this right here, even deer, I believe. And if you get the blade sharp enough, and the blade will sharpen, I found that out. And so that's the one good thing about this particular metal. I don't know how fast it'll dull, but it will sharpen. So that's a good thing there. And so it can be useful. But if you don't want to use your $200, $300, $400 bushcraft knife all the time, you could use this right here, especially when batoning and stuff like that. About that. So let's see what we can do with this right here, and just see if we can improve this in any way. If you can't improve it, then it's it's not very useful. Big thing is making sure we can get it sharp. Okay. Okay. So here's a little paper test thing right here. Gives you a little idea. If you buy one of these knives, first thing you need to do is sharpen it before you do anything else. Okay. So anyway, we're getting it sharp. We can sharpen it a little bit more, but it'll cut the paper. That's a start right there. And then this piece right here, here's a piece of rope. Now that's really kind of made for like cutting rope and stuff like that. So I need to sharpen that right there a little more. And so that's a start right there. I saw some guy trying to cut a piece of paracord with one of these, and he couldn't do anything with it. But this is a real thick string right here. But even without using the serrated part right here, this should cut through real easy right here. Yeah, that's no problem there. So sharpen it. That's the whole key right there. When you cut paper with it, sometimes, I mean, you can skin an animal. You just need to get that blade a little bit finer. Now, this part of the blade right here, that's going to be your skinning part right there. You can protect this part of the blade as much as you can. Protect that part of the blade as much as you can. Don't beat on stuff with it. You know, with these knives, these are not chopping knives. Don't ever chop things with these. You know, if you're going to cut something, you would take a baton, a piece of wood like this right here, and set this on a piece of a branch or something like that, and baton it down, you know, with a piece of wood hitting this right here. And so we'll see how this works, okay? It may be useful. Your Ferro rod right here. And remember, this ferrous rod only had one small section right here that actually has the ferrous rod. You need a different rod, actually, is what you need. And so this way you should be able to take it now and so it'll bring sparks now, okay? And so otherwise, if you try it, it's not going to do anything unless you grind this right here. Now, it's up to you how far you want to grind this, but to me, if you're looking at the rod right here, to me, that's all you need is, you know, like finger width. Some people will grind it all the way down here probably, but I don't really see the point. But that's me. Okay, if you don't like discoloration right here, just take a black magic non-erasable marker and just paint it, man. It'll look pretty much like the rest of this black iodized stuff does here. Okay, so that's all you got to do, and you have your fire starter too. Otherwise, it will not work on this ferrous rod. Okay. Yeah, let's try this piece of wood right here. This is oak, and that's pretty hard. And let's try it right here. Okay, and we're baton this. That blade is too thin for this. This wood is so tough. I don't think you're gonna find too much wood much tougher than this. And I wish the blade had stuck out a little bit more. This is a full tang knife. A rat tail knife would probably break off. It's a good test for this knife. Hey, we almost got split in two here. Okay. You look at this wood right here. See how it sounds? That is some hard oak wood. And let's look at that blade. We can see that blade. The blade is not beat up at all. And the blade is straight. And there's no damage to it, no warping to it. I don't think you're going to find a piece of wood harder than this right here. Now it may look to you like, well, it looks kind of rotten and all. Not in the heart right here, it's not. This is I can't even pull this right here apart. It is so hard. I burnt some of this wood the other night, and it surprised me that it took forever to burn. Hard oak. So baton wise, this blade held up okay, to batoning it. And the only reason it didn't split sooner is because it's got a narrow blade. It had a wedge-shaped blade to it. You know, it would have split it. But that works on batoning right there, okay? No damage to this blade at all. Which that's only one, right? And I'm using a big old piece of wood for baton too. So that ought to tell us something, I hope. I found me another stick here. This tree fell a few weeks ago. So it's good. It's a good tree. It's not rotten. The wind got it about 30-something miles per hour. So let's try batoning this right here and cut this limb. This limb is a couple inches thick. Yeah. That blade, because it's thin, is cutting in here really good. You kind of, instead of using you don't have a hatchet or something, you just pretend like this is where the hatchet will be cutting through here. Now that, you don't have to cut the whole thing into. Now pull on this limb right here and see, you can just break it off. You just got to cut through about half of it. This limb, well, you can see with my hand, it's about 3 inches wide there. And that's a pretty big limb. We look at that blade again. Can you see it? It's straight as an arrow. There's no warping to it. Doesn't look like it's been touched at all. So that's good. So that's not hurting it at all. So the steel is pretty good in this. I mean, it's a $10 knife, but batoning through that hard piece of oak that I had right there, I mean, that's a solid piece of oak. Tells me that it cut through a lot of things that were greener. Might cut through those okay. You know, you don't want anything more than probably 4 inches wide on the logs when you're cutting those, because this is a 5-inch blade. But there's no damage to this. Remember, I notched it out right here for the ferrous rod with a Dremel tool, so it would strike a ferrous rod. So, yeah, it looks perfect for that. Okay. Well, I'll tell you, she sticks real good. Really kind of hit our target right there. It's already split. So that's went over. Yeah, let's throw it with a pinch grip right here. All right, that's a pinch grip. Not too bad. So we throwed it with the blade, and we throwed it with a pinch grip because the lanyard's there. And Let's throw it underhand, 6 o'clock position. It will stick like that.